Well, hello there. Welcome to the stream. I sort of prepared, but this is, as is often the case these days, a last minute stream. Hello, Shadow Souls Studios. Hello, Joel. Hello, Royal Commander. You are in charge. So, welcome to the stream. Yeah, so I was just working on this stuff, and I've been working on this stuff for the past 4 hours, I think, and I was like, this is fun. I should do a live stream. I would have done it. I would have been here a couple minutes earlier, but Midjourney was taking a while to make that epic cover image. How about that cover image? I gotta say, this AI stuff is. I like it. Oh, there you are. You are there. I do like it. This is a really cool image. It didn't take. I took a little. I did like 15 iterations in order to get that, but I like it a lot. I thought it was exciting and will get people to click thinking that that's the game I'm making, but they're wrong. I'm not making that game. I'm making this gray box thing, which is actually really cool. And so let's just get right into it. I've got two screens up here. Am I able to show effectively two screens, two code screens? I don't think so. Not on the stream, because to do that, it would be really small, and I know you folks tend to ask me to make. I accidentally made a lot of spaces here. That's not what I want. I pushed the wrong button. My keyboard was in the wrong spot. So you guys asked me to increase the size, so I think, well, that's probably too big now. All right, let's close all. Close other tabs. Close. All right, so that's too big now. Oh my gosh, why is it being slow? Stop being slow. All right. So what I'm doing right now is essentially not redoing, but thank you, making an update to the game modules. It started with making the quests, and then it's continued with making the quests better. And then I got to the point where I was like, I need to do a lot of cleanup here. I can make this even better. And so basically, what I've been doing is refactoring things like cray, making it more automated. Because the whole thing about game modules is the automation. It does complicated things automatically. So quests, stats, items, whatever you want. It's customizable, flexible. You can override everything, but it's also very automated. So as an example here, there's something to fix in the inventory. It's not completely working right now for some reason. I probably broke something yesterday when I was fiddling with it. But this is just a demo. So in this demo, we've got 4 players, and they're going to be listed here. I'm going to be creating them when I hit start. You might not do that. Maybe you have 1 player, and if you do that, you can set their stuff all here. For this one, in this example, we've got a character race and character class. And you can start with quests. You can choose stuff like, hey, post the list to the Blackboard and notify on post. That's a new thing. And you can give the subject to it and all this stuff. Or you can do that on the fly, and we're going to do that on the fly because there are 4 characters in this demo. So let's just quickly look at the code, then I'll press play. So this code is right here. There's a lot of logic here, but really the big thing is this start. What we're doing here, actually awake and then start. On awake, we create the demo players. Pretty simple stuff. Add new players. To add new players, we're just adding an inventory actor. This is a brand new thing for the game modules, and it's actually a requested feature. I probably should have done it earlier. My apologies. But essentially, we have this actor, inventory actor, which inherits from game modules inventory actor. And then we've got 2 things. So we got an inventory actor and a game modules actor. Game modules actor is the main base. It's got all this stuff, the IU stuff, and a whole lot of methods that drive it all. Each of the lists, each of the game module lists, so the conditions, the quests, etc., have their own methods. This has additional helper methods that you can use for gaining things, has things, etc. You can override all of these, so you can create your own version, and that's what we did here. Because if you know anything about the game modules, they're not very opinionated, except for right now the inventory module is a visual drag and drop inventory system. And generally speaking, if you want that, you'll use the inventory system. If you don't want it, you're not going to. You're going to roll your own inventory, probably with just lists and do, icons or whatever it is that you want to do. That's a demo I want to make one day, by the way. But so for now, we actually have the game modules inventory actor, which inherits from game modules actor. So it has all its beautiful stuff plus this inventory management stuff. So an additional things for the inventory management with hard-coded right here inventory items and equipped items, both of which are game item object lists. And there's methods for equipping it, which transfers, which basically it's probably hopefully easy to read. The inventory items transfer to equipped items, this item, and opposite. So that's just if you just do equip item and pass in the item, then it will do that. And I'm gonna make even more versions of this because there might be different ways you might want to do that. And so we'll just have all of them available for you, all built in right there. And so the inventory actor, this is kind of like a demo scene. You could use this, just drag and drop in your project, or you can copy and make your own version. You can inherit from it because these are all going to be something you can override as well if you want, or just use it, whatever you want. But it's a demonstration more than anything else. So we've got the game modules inventory actor here, and we've got all this stuff. And that is what we have on the data. We've got 4 of those as the players. And then after our awake, we do the start. And the start does a few things. So we're using a lot of coroutines now to automate what used to be something you would have to do. But the order of operations matters. And so I figured it would be better if you didn't have to think about it. And so if you copy this setting, you can roll your own. Again, this is something you can just copy paste, but it is something that you have to do. This is a mono behavior. The rest are not mono behaviors. So you don't get to do all the good stuff on the others, but you can start coroutines on them at start. And so that's what we're doing. The first one is the player start actions. And if we dig into that, all it does, it waits for the blackboard. That's 1 frame. The blackboard is called up here. It will be up here. It's in one of the inherited in one of the parent classes, but it's a using static, and so it takes 1 frame for that to kind of register. And so it's going to wait 1 frame, and then once it's registered, we're going to set the owner to this. Now, setting the owner basically calls all of the lists and says, hey, I'm your owner. The items should know that, but the lists themselves don't start out knowing who the owner is. And so this basically says, hey, I'm your owner. And for all the items, I'm your owner. And the concept of the owner is now much more heavily utilized for the automation of the game module. So that's just an important bit. But again, as long as you call the start actions, then you don't have to worry about that. And then we're going to do the start actions on all the lists. So if we dig into those, they're all the same, basically. They wait for the blackboard, but they also wait to have an owner, which, of course, happens in that last step. So this is about 2 frames in. And then we do the add this to blackboard. This is a new feature as well with the blackboard. Now we can optionally post these lists to the blackboard. And one of the quest demos uses that concept where the conditions post to the blackboard and gets notified. And if a new condition is added, the quest looks to see, oh, is it poison? If it's poison, you fail the quest. So this is, again, more of the automation by using the blackboard to automatically post to it, automatically update to it so that other things can automatically read it. Now I've got that Big Daddy movie in my head. It's been a long time since I've seen that, but that was the first time I realized McDonald's had breakfast. I didn't know about that before seeing Big Daddy. I don't know why I didn't know that. Is Big Daddy? That's the Adam Sandler movie. Anyways, so it does that, and then we do the starting list items. So now this is the option that, again, you don't have to use this, but you can start with lists. So we've got a few different things. You can start with conditions, stat objects. In stat objects, we actually have a stat setting object, which allows you to start with random points if you so choose. And you don't have to do it like that. In this demo, I'm actually not using that at all. Where am I? There we go. I'm not using this at all, but it's here for you. I need to update the this one to make it sort of like the stat setting so that you can have item objects that start with attributes on them. So yeah, so there's that. And then at the very end of all this, this is the custom thing. I didn't want to start the stats here because I wanted hit points to match the hit points max. And so this line, it's one line, but it's along one line, so it's separated. Does two things. First, so the get stat is clever. I like, this is one of my favorite methods in this whole thing, because the get stat has this add if null value here. So by default it's true. It means, hey, get the stat. If the stat doesn't exist in the list, it's going to add the stat and then return it. So you don't have to think about, prior to using stats, essentially, you don't necessarily have to think about them. If you want them to be used in some way, then you have to do something with it. And in this case, I want the hit points to match the max hit points. So I do need to do something with it. And so I'm getting the stat hit points. I haven't added it. So this line actually adds hit points. And then we're calling on that set points to be the max hit points. Whoops. The max hit points final stat. And again, we're getting the stat. We don't have it. This will add this. It will compute the final stat and return that as the points. And it's all automated. So, there's a little setup. But with that little setup, we get a lot of cool stuff. And so now if I just press play, there shouldn't be any errors because I tested this before. We see a lot of my debug laws where it's computing the different things. Well, we see the players here. So we got 4 players. They got stats, and so these ones will have hit points max, and all the other good stuff. They've got random races and classes automatically added through the code. You can dig into that. Very exciting. One of the cool things I also just added earlier today was on these stats, you now have the ability to select them to post. Well, actually, I added this the other day. Post to the blackboard, and you can notify. So the hit points max is going to be posted to the blackboard. And the hit points is going to be posted. The points are going to be posted and notified. So when the hit points changes, the blackboard will be updated and a notification will be sent. So that means later in the game, I could have objects that are listening for hit point changes and doing something when hit point changes, which means it could be a lot easier to link up some various aspects of the game. And so what that looks like on the blackboard is this. In this case, every object has a runtime, I'm calling it the game ID, and that's a random thing. Now you can set that to be something very specific. In this project, we've got 4 different players. I'm not going to know who they are, what they are, where they are. So I'm using random GUIDs. You could set these to something. It just has to be unique. They have to be unique. They can't. If they are not unique, then shenanigans can happen. But as you can see, we now have the conditions lists posted here. This is a game condition list, so you'll see it down here. Right. Well. Oh, it's empty. It's a game condition list. It's there. That's it. But it's empty because we haven't added any conditions. That's why. That confused me for a second. But we also have our hit points and hit points max. So this is the same character here. We have our hit points max. This one is 20. And we see our hit points is matched. What's neat is you didn't see it, but this one also has 20. Come on. This one's got 40. And the reason why this one has 40 hit points and the other ones have 20 is because they have different races and classes. And that is the best example, I think, or one of the best examples of why game modules is so cool. All I had to do is say, give them a race, give them a class, give them a stat, and then the stat automatically computed on its own without me doing anything. And now without even an update loop, because I removed the update loop from the entire stats system, it no longer needs an update loop, which is very nice, better for optimization. Because it is set up all that way, the race and class affect the hit points. So if you're new to this system, the game module system, we got the race up here, and this is the stats we got on it. So the dwarf is going to affect all these stats in various ways, and the hit points max is going to be 20. That's the base value, 20 multiplied. So X times the value of stamina and stat bonus. So there's a lot of math going on here, but essentially 1 times whatever the value of the character's stamina is in this stat bonus lookup table. It's math, that you'd have to code yourself, but instead, if you just know kind of what you want to do, then you can set it up. Same with magic points. I didn't put magic points into this demo, but that's also would be computed if we gave them the stat. And similarly, the character classes have a similar setup. Now, they're not affecting hit points. Oops. They're not affecting hit points. Well, they are. They are getting some additional hit points here. And now that I look at it, I'm pretty sure this part is broken. I am pretty sure because there should be some action here. Actually, no, there isn't. Do you know why there isn't? This is a good call out. There isn't because we didn't add stamina. And since they don't have stamina, this value can't compute. This only computes if they have the stat, and that's on purpose. And I don't currently have an option to add it if it's not there. So what we can do is make use of our we'll make use of our will we make use of that? Let me just see real quick. I'm going to look at the stamina, remind myself how that is set up. If it has a main settings, it's got a base value of 13, so we can just add it. I'm going to add it in the, just to demonstrate this, I'm going to add it in the previous step we talked about. Demo data, there it is. So we're going to do the starting stats. We'll make it 1, and we will, oops, not 2. We'll expand this out, and we will choose stamina, and we will just give a random value between 10 and 15, just for shits and gigglies. And now let's just press play, and we should see different hit points now. Essentially, that's what we should do. So let's just check out the blackboard. That's where it is easy here. Okay, we didn't see anything there. We didn't see, I think those are just the standards. I was hoping to see some non-5 numbers, but we didn't. And so let's just see. Stamina is not being computed. Stamina is not being computed. Well, I guess that's something to look into, because let's just make sure that they have it. Maybe something else is going on. Let's see the players stats. Do they have? They don't have it. So that's it never got added. So it looks like, let's check out our fancy thing that I made an hour ago. That doesn't seem to be working. Start actions, right? Starting list actions. Okay. Oh, because we never pulled these over. That's why. I remember I added these to make them all null, because there's always a chance they might be not null, and then I never went back to add them here. So what do we need first? Conditions. And what did I call it? Now, start conditions, start everything. So start. Okay, start conditions. Start conditions, and then start stats, and then start quests, and then start inventory, I'm pretty sure, and then start, equipment. All right, so those should now work, and now the magic should happen. It's fun when the magic happens. Do you believe in magic? I hope you do. That song, I relate more to McDonald's commercials than to the actual song. So now let's look. Do we have the... We don't have it. Why don't we have it? There's no errors. Well, let's do a fancy dancy debug. And well, okay, let me just double check that it didn't disappear on me. Did I forget to serialize data? I could have forgotten to serialize things. I tend to do that. This is serializable. Is the stat setting serializable? Yes, it is. Okay, well, let's do that. This is debug.log, and we'll say, hey, we are creating a stat. We'll do it all that, and you know what? Let's do a warning just to make sure it sticks out in that wall of stuff. And we're gonna put in here. What are we gonna put in here? We're gonna put in here the stat.object name, and there you go. we should see this 4 times. Now, we might not because it might not be called. Let's see. Nope, we just have this serialization depth issue thing. So if this isn't being called, why the heck not? For each stat object. All right, so let us look at this and say debug.log warning will say starting lists stats count is what is it, stat objects dot length. All right, why is this? It's possibly null. All right, well, let's put a question mark there to check for null first. Mute button works again. That's nice. Oh, don't forget to like and subscribe. Looks like you all may have done so already, but if you haven't, I appreciate it. Nothing happened. Interesting. Is it just not being called? It says it's being called. Let me do another thing here and say debug.log warning, and we're going to say, nope, not that, whatever that was. We're going to say here, starting lists, and it doesn't matter that I misspelled start as star because nobody cares about that misspelling. All right, so we do start it. So that means that it never finishes. That means that this part never finishes. So what we should probably do is list out who's null. And why the heck are they null? Wait a minute, what's this? Ah, look at that. I never did owner. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's not. Nope, that wasn't it. All right, so then let me see. And there's also some other updates I need to make. Like this shouldn't be lowercase. It needs to be uppercase. But I had tried to be clever and make this whole game modules list generic thing. And then as I was working it, I realized that while a lot of them do share very similar logic, there are key instances where the logic is very different, and making it generic ultimately just didn't work out. Instead, I'll just be organized and make sure they all have similar methods with similar names. So they all have get. I don't have to worry about get item. It could just be get, add, try get game ID, first, last, etc. So they'll all have the same methods. So you'll just know as you're using it what methods are there eventually. Okay, so going back to here, which was it? It was right here. So we need to print these out, and so it's going to be a little tedious here. We're going to say conditions dot owner equals null, and then we'll put here condition, and we'll just repeat this a few times. Put the space there. Yeah, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'll just kind of copy. It doesn't really matter. One of these is clearly not getting its owner set, and that is probably the issue. That's my guess, because it's never coming out of this coroutine. Could be those item lists. Ah, or yep, it's the item list. Look at that. I called it. False, 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 true. All right, it's the 2 with the small O's. So let's make these small O's into big O's. What are we doing here for owner? And first this one, we are doing a game modules list. So I clearly just need to close to the right. Let's open up game item object list and look for where's owner again. So we have this at the top. We probably just never added this at the, oh, we did. Interesting. All right, let's follow this thread because at the beginning here, we do set the owner, start actions, and we do set owner this, and oh, you see the problem? You see the problem. Game modules actors. So what we need to do is actually override this. So because this is a game module actors, but we're using game modules inventory actor right here. I closed it. And so we need to override that method because that method doesn't have the two stat lists or item lists. Overrides. Nice. All right, so we're going to say, we're going to do base.setOwner because those are fine. And new owner, we'll pass that in. And then we're going to say inventory items.setOwner, new owner. And we will also do equipped items, set owner. Oh, not set dirty owner, new owner. And that should be good, but I want to change this. And actually, I'm going to add it right here. We will override to ensure that the inventory and equipment are set as well. All right, so now it should work. That's my guess. I'm putting $1 on it. You don't all get $1 if I lose, but I'm putting $1 on it, and if I lose, I put the $1 in my other pocket. Good thing I didn't lose. We got stamina going on here, so now we got stamina. So now let's check out these hit points and the blackboard because we're posting them. Let's see. Final stat 20. 15. These should not be. Nope. Those should not be so flat. But let's do one other thing real quick. We're just going to post the points to the dash or the blackboard for all of these. I think it makes sense to keep all of the main stats in the blackboard. Keep those updated. I don't know if that's needed or not, but maybe it will be. So we're just going to post all of them if they exist. Let's press play. Let's check out the blackboard. And we have stamina. Let's just see. Do we have our points in stamina? We do. Value float. Okay. So we do have the points there. So it should be doing some math on the stamina. So let me just take off my debugs. Let's clean that up because we don't need all that anymore since we solved that problem. And I think the hay one still needs to be removed. Yes. All right. So let's dig into that stats thing and confirm that it's doing what we think it's doing. Because it is a fairly complicated bit, and I have refactored. No, it's not the right button. Is there an issue with the fly music pack? I don't know. That would if it's one missing, it's the other. It's probably human error on my part, and the fact that hey, not many people actually buy those, and therefore nobody tells me about issues because they don't even find the issues. Because I think that's sold like 8 times in 5 years. Actually, probably less now that I think about it. Okay, so we're gonna dig into that stats, and to do that, I have to remember where the hell it lives, and so I was looking at writer. So we're gonna look at it's either stat or game stat. So it's I think game stat. Oops, my keyboard's in the wrong spot. Where my hands are, or maybe a little bit of both. Either way, they are not aligned. I guess everything's relative, including position. Stat. All right. Memory. Work for me, please. All right. Build tree connections. Try get add. This is the original version. ChatGPT has led me astray. I've been using it, ChatGPT, and it gave me this. So I had this original version. So let's look at the code real quick. So this was my original version, And I said to ChatGPT, hey, is there an easier way to do this? And it said, yeah, do this. And I said, oh. Oh, wait. No, get effects. This is not. I wonder if I may have just removed get effects all the way, actually. So maybe I just delete. Anyways, ChatGPT has been helpful from time to time. It also has introduced a bug that I had to solve, because the reality is it will give you tips, but it doesn't necessarily understand what you're actually trying to do. And so nuances get lost. Like, for example, I'll give a quick example. Earlier today, I said to it, on which well, not game set, which one was it? On the starting where no data inventory actor. There it is. I had these in order, but they've changed. In this, I said to it, hey, can this be shorter? Can this be shorter? I want it to be less lines. And it said yes. And I did this thing where it compiled these lists together into one list, and then, you know, based on the type, and it was shorter. But it didn't pay attention to the fact that these are separate. And so it said, hey, if it's an item object, add it to both of them. And obviously that wasn't my intent. So if I had just copy pasted, I would have had a bug. It's done that in another thing where I wasn't fully understanding what it was doing, and it ended up not realizing that the order of what I was calling mattered. And so it reversed it. It was shorter, but it reversed the order. So suddenly things weren't computing properly. So you do have to understand what it's giving you. But other than that, I like it. And I'm just going to move these to the side over here, because just to remember where they all are. Okay, so let me also remind myself over here. We have stamina. Stamina, it directly affects hit points max. Makes sense. That's good. And if we select hit points max, we can see how we see directly affected by stamina. Great. That means stamina will be computed before. So if we try to compute hit point max before, then stamina will be computed, because you need to compute that because it directly affects this. So when we look at our stats, when we look at, it's directly affected by the character. So if we look at our character class with these complicated links here, we have hit points max. We get 3 to the base value. So it's going to get level. So, I know why. We don't have level. See, we don't have level. We didn't add level to the mix. And this requires level, because it's going to be 3 times level. If we don't have level, that's 0, so it's going to be 0. And if we look at race, if we look at an elf, similar, stamina is not by level, but magic points by the level. So if we look at the half orc, it's probably 3 by the level, again level 0. So let's create the level. So I'm going to go back and we're going to do this method again, because it's working now, so why not? We'll do the second starting stat. On the second one, we're going to choose level. My mouse is suddenly sluggish. I like Apple's mouse design, except for, of course, the stupid power plug, which they haven't fixed, and it's such a black eye on them. And also, it sometimes just doesn't work right. So it's gonna be 1. So I'm just gonna do 1 to 1, and let's press play and see what happens. Blackboard. All right, what do we got? Final stat. Aha! It's 11 now, so it's now a multiple of 5. So now we have it working. That's a multiple of 5. This one is also a multiple of 5, and this one is a multiple not a 5. So it's working now. Now it's actually computing the right values. Magic, and it wasn't a bug. So I'm happy because I didn't have to dig into the code, because the code should just work still. I didn't change it. So I'm happy that it just worked. There we go. That's good. All right. So what the heck was I doing next? Because that was a sidetrack. That was a sidetrack. I didn't expect to go down that path. All right. Let's close these out. Keep my stuff organized to the best of my ability. Let's do the item settings while I'm thinking about it. so we're going to do a thing called item settings. So if we look, I'm going to put this in the items because it's part of the items module in the end. Create a C# script called item object settings. And let's load that up. It's not going to be a mono behavior, and it is going to go to modules, and it is going to be system.serializable. And then we don't need this junk in the trunk. And we can look at stat settings and kind of copy because why not? And then we'll copy that and paste it, and we will then change this to be an item object. And we will change this to be item object. Whoops, nope, whatever that's going on. There we go. Item object. And we don't need points. We don't need that either. Instead, what we need is a item attribute list. And we're going to call this item attributes. Thank you for telling me what I was thinking, Ryder. You were right. And then we're going to make a new game item object and create item object, or just create item object. Yeah, we'll just create item object B. And the owner is going to be the I have stats owner. Unlike most modules have like quest as I have quests, and conditions as I have conditions, stats as I have stats. Items is also I have stats because the point of items is that they affect stats. That's the whole thing. You have an item in your hand and it's going to affect your damage or other things. So it's an I have stats. And we got the parent as well, although I don't think parents used in this context. We'll find out. So we're going to change this to item object and new game item object. And what do we need for this? What do we need? Let's see. We need a parent owner and oh yeah, we need the item object. What the heck is it? It is the item object. And we'll have to change the name. Yeah. Okay. Let's do that first. New item object, and then all right. Then we're going to do item object here, and then the owner is going to be the owner. And we don't indeed need this for item objects. And now we're going to add our item attributes. So this is very easy to do. Once you have an item and object, you can just say new item object item object dot add attribute, and we will add the attribute. But I guess we need to do this in a for each loop. So we're going to say for each var item attribute in item attributes. We're going to say this and add item attribute dot uid, and that is it. That's how you add an item attribute to an item. I think I need to update this. I do need to update this because this is not the right way of doing it. We'll do that. Oh, okay, maybe I've been avoiding moving them off of this, but let's just take the plunge after this. We'll leave it for now, but we'll take the plunge after this and fix that. It's just going to be, I basically tied things together. Now we need to rip them apart. No big deal, but I just didn't want to do it. I've been avoiding it. So we're good there. Item object setting. So that will just add all the item attributes. And again, for those of you, if you haven't been aware of the game modules and what the heck an item attribute is, you can probably figure it out. But you've got items. So let's say you have a shield. It's a small wooden shield. You have stats on it, and it does things like the stats. It adds the armor class of 4. No big deal. It's a small wooden shield. That's all it does. But it has the ability to have some item attributes on. These are the different types of attributes that can go on it. Essentially, it can't have a gender. It can't have a race either, so let's turn that off. It can't have a race, can't have a gender. It can have all these other things, though. In your project, you're not going to have so many different demo this and demo that, but that's just from all the different demo files and demo scenes I got going on here. So we got those. Oh, and then from that, you can kind of see the available items. So it can be any of these attributes can go onto it, which is pretty cool. They all do different things. So if we go ahead and find an item attribute, we can find maybe the special, no, not special, suffix we'll do of power. If we look at of power and you look at the stats, oh, it doesn't do anything. We didn't set that up. Did we not set that up? All right, let's add one. if of power is probably might, that makes sense. So we're going to add might, and we're going to say, hey, if this is, then we're going to add a 3 to the might, and that's it. So now when something is a thing of power and you have it equipped, it will automatically increase your might by 3. And again, since it's game modules, that's automatic for you. All you have to do is equip it, and it will automatically recompute its stats for you. So once you equip, the stat goes up and things get notified and all that stuff. You know, that's an interesting concept you bring up, Jason Story. A race based on the treants. Yeah. So, hey, your game, your rules, right? And nice to see you, Jason. How are you doing? I hope you're doing great on this lovely, what is it? 4 a.m. for you? A lovely morning, or maybe it's 7 a.m. because you're far to the west, over there. So yeah, maybe it's 3 a.m. I said 7 a.m. I meant 3 a.m. But there you go. So that's that. So now if we just quickly look, let's try to equip some stuff just to confirm it works. I actually haven't hooked it up yet, so that's probably important. We should probably do that first. So we have our stuff here. So item object settings. If we go back to our data, we will change this to item object settings for each. 4 a.m. Getting ready for bed later than usual. Later than usual. Well, yeah, I wish I could stay up till 4 a.m. sometimes and not like suffer because I have to wake up at 7 a.m. or 7:30. So we got these. We have a bug here or something going on. What's this? Start inventory. Start inventory because starting list is expecting the wrong thing. So we got that. And now down here, we will, instead of this, we will do this. And then gain inventory item is, we're going to say item object dot create item object. And the owner is going to be this, because this is the inventory actor. So we're going to do that on both of these. And that should magically just do its thing. So let's find out if we give everyone a shield of power, what happens. I think it should just be magically delicious. Oh my gosh, is that what's the thing? Not when, so I said magically delicious, which is Lucky Charms, and I said that right after talking to my very good Irish friend, and now I feel bad. I feel bad because I wouldn't be surprised if my subconscious thought about Ireland. Now, to be fair, I wasn't just talking to you. I was also talking about the location of Ireland. So maybe it has nothing to do with you, Jason, but rather just the fact that you live in a wonderful land called Ireland. And I bet my subconscious brought up magically delicious. And since I'm just saying stuff that comes into my head without thinking about it, it just spewed out. And now I've said it. And now that I'm talking about it, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Anyways, obviously, we are not, getting philosophical on us. We do not have free will. Anyone who thinks that you actually control stuff, you barely control stuff. You can influence stuff, but only your subconscious, which means it's really not you. Yeah. That's my explanation for why I said magically delicious. All right, I'm pretty sure this is recompiled now. That's all right. All right, so we got starting stats. Now we got starting inventory. We're going to just do it in the inventory. We will add one thing, and we will do item attributes. So it's going to be, we should probably address for what happens if this is null. So let's do that too. This is going to be a shield, this small shield. I think that was the one. And then for the item attributes, we're going to do, what was it? Powerful, of power. So part of the game modules, earlier I showed the true that he is definitely on board with that sentiment that I just said. Most of it, at least, probably he'd probably have a better way of saying it, but and he'd make money by selling a book about it. But so the earlier I showed that, you know, there's some of the item attributes on the shield were toggled off. If we try to add an item attribute that is not on, it won't let you. So you can't accidentally add stuff that makes no logical sense for your project, which is a very nice little catch-all thing. But before we do this, we should go into both of these and make sure that if the stat is null, then we just return. So if stat equals null, return. We can't do anything. Return default. Interesting. So actually, we don't necessarily want to do that here. I mean, we could. And this should never happen. So I am going to say debug.log warning and say, oops. The stat settings is missing a stat. This is required. All right, because this shouldn't happen. So if you set this up and, oh, what just happened? Copy it. If you set this up and then forget to populate it, which if you're like me, will definitely happen and a lot, and then you'll get sidetracked and forget to do it again, then this will give you a warning because it is required. But we shouldn't even get here unless it is not null. So if we go back to this stuff right here, what we should say is just if stats for each stat in a stat stats.receive transfer. So this is going to be if stat is, well, stat in this context isn't null. So I guess we should make sure it's in receive transfer. Because, I mean, let's see what happens. What happens if we just do one that's empty? Let's just break things. Break things and laugh about it. So let's do a third stat here. And in this third stat, we're going to break things by saying there's no stat and press play and then see what shenanigans happen. Okay, so we get a null reference. Where do we get it? We get it here. All right, so good. So we're going to say if object is null, then return. And we won't throw an error. Oh my gosh, return default. We won't throw an error. The user who writes this code will get an error when their thing comes back null. But we're not going to throw an error because it is always possible to get that, I think, in a logical way. Now we're going to have to update the other lists and receive, transfer, and we're going to do the same thing here on all these lists. Where are the other lists? They're not up, so let me go to it. Game condition list and receive, transfer. Okay, and whoops. And this one's already fixed, so we're going to say if game condition is null. And then the last one is game quests list. And then I'll take a break and read the chat. All right. Close those. Okay. Predictably irrational. It's about humanity, I'm sure. Personally, more explicitly throw an exception there. Sounds dramatic. It's not a warning. Really, an exception. Okay. I actually asked ChatGPT, I think, about exceptions recently. So how do you do an exception? Exception. Row. Throw new exception. What do we put? Oh, message. Okay. And then it won't even return default, so it just says, hey. So essentially, if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying, hey, since it never should happen, then just throw an exception because it should never happen, and the folks got to know earlier that happened, rather than throw a warning that they might miss. Is that, whoops, is that essentially what you're suggesting? Okay. Yep. It's fun source money, man. Chain of 5 calls. True. Throw new null argument exception. No reference exception. That one is one I understand. Not on purpose. Always by accident. Ah, that's good. All right. I did a weird thing with my hands. I'm glad I'm not on video. It would have been embarrassing. Also, I'd have to clean up my stuff. I was watching Thomas Brush the other day, and his little office that he does a stream from is so clean. Nice lighting. It's very clean. It's got a good LUT on the camera. And I thought to myself, that's nice. I want that. I want a room that doesn't have my bed right there and isn't like 10 feet by 12 feet. I get the argument out of bounds all the time too, on my lists and other things. One day, I am hopefully trying to find a cheap enough house that a single person can afford in crazy California. And if that goes well, so far it's not, then I will have a room for my computer and my board games, and then I will have to invest in nice lighting, and I'm probably going to have to ask Jason and Jason their thoughts on nice lighting. And I know Jason's story has very good thoughts on LUTs and camera settings and such, and I will have to invest in that as well. That will be nice. That will be a neat day. We'll see if it happens. Anyways, for now, I think we should be good. Let's just test this. We still have our null one here, so we should got our exceptional exception, and a booyah, null reference exception. We get 4 of them. Perfect. Okay, now let's check our items. So when we look at our people now, our players, we should have our inventory. And we should have one thing, we do, and we should have a small shield, and it should have an attribute that is, it doesn't, mother effer. Well, at least we got the small shield. I wonder why it didn't add the of power. Let's check to make sure it can add of power, because as I said, if it's not, oh, I know why, because we did small shield, not shield. One of the exercises I will be doing later is cleaning up all these demos so that we have just one list of all the demo items so we don't get this exact problem. And as you can see here, of power is not here. And that is why it didn't get added. Because, hey, I'm glad earlier I mentioned that this thing existed to stop you from accidentally adding an attribute to an item that makes no sense. In this case, I bet it's a suffix. It is. We'll turn it on and we'll press play. And magically delicious, and it still didn't work. Small shield of power. Let's make sure that of power is in the suffix. Of power is in suffix. It is. All right, so of power, small shield. Small shield. I'm just looking to confirm. Available. It is working. Save. And let me just press play one more time, and then we'll go through the motions and figure it out. Yep, it didn't work. Okay, so let's find out why it didn't work. Again, I didn't really touch that part of the code, so it's probably the new code that's breaking here. Item object setting. For each one, let's make sure that they're probably not being called over. Is it being called over? which one? Start inventory. We'll go with. Oh, that's not where I wanted to go. All right, so starting list items. No, it is being. I mean, it's. I guess yeah. It's bringing for each item object, and we're going to do for each item object settings. Let's just be more explicit, and let's be more explicit here. Stat settings as well. All right. So for each item object settings, we are passing it into the inventory, and we're doing create. And so I suppose we should say a debug.log. And again, I'm going to do a warning just because I've got so many debugs right now. It's a problem. I've got more debugs than I have board games, and I have too many board games. Maybe. That's arguable. It's probably fine. I can stop anytime. I just don't want to. Stop talking about it. Stop bugging me about my board games. Jeez, Mom. Oh my gosh. All right. We're going to say that there are how many item attributes dot length attributes to add, and then down here we will then at the end of this say debug.log warning, and the item now has a new item object dot attributes dot count, and attributes, and since clearly that's probably gonna break in the middle, we're gonna do a debug.log. We'll try, oops, I need a dollar sign, dollar bills, y'all. We'll try to add item attribute dot human name. Right. I should probably do that. All right, because I'm gonna only look at the warnings. Another layer of detail by actually making my own exceptions. You make your own exceptions? Well, that does make sense. You are an exceptional person. Easy documentation for it makes it. Oh, interesting. Interesting. I'll have to think more about that. I didn't know you could write your own. Of course you can write your own. You can do almost anything. All right, so it will. There are one attributes. We'll try to add it. It now has one. Hey, then the problem must be in the next step. I'm probably making a clone of it, and the clone will strip the things. So this is another concept of the game modules that matters. That there are two ways to get things in your list. One will add something, and it's usually a vanilla version. Then there's usually a transfer method, which will transfer an object that's already created. In this case, we want to transfer an object that's already created. So we'll just undo a lot, because I didn't want to press the delete key, so I'm just undoing. All right. So where is our stuff again? Starting lists. Okay. We are saying gain item inventory, and this is using exactly the add one. And so what we need to do is transfer. I don't think I've built that yet. We have to receive transfer. Oh, well, we could do that. These are specific to flip them back and forth between the equipment and inventory. So what we should probably do then is we're going to just get this items inventory receive transfer. Yeah, I guess we could just use that. There's no sense in making a method here when this is just a simple enough and straightforward, since there are two things. Receive transfer would just have to be two different versions. It doesn't really actually help anything. So where'd the player go again? Where did the player go? Is it here? So we're going to say, instead of gain this, we're going to call item or inventory items dot transfer or receive transfer, and then call that. So this is going to receive the transfer, and we'll look at the code real quick. Equipment items receive transfer and all that. So receive transfer takes in a game item object. This is a game version of the item object. It's already been created. And we have the option of making a clone or not. That's important. Now, if we make a clone, it's going to clone the item attribute. So we're not going to lose them. It's not going to be a vanilla version. But in this case, we don't need to make a clone. Oftentimes you'll want to make a clone for various reasons, I believe. And in this case, we don't need to make a clone. So I think I will avoid doing that. And to do that, we're just going to go in here and say distinct equals false and make clone equals false. So that's actually a good call out. It doesn't need to be distinct. So this flow can now add 10 swords to the inventory at the start if you want, because you're a sword merchant or some junk like that. All right, so going back to the receive transfer, I am going to clean this up and comment these, and I keep making these into vars. So it's basically, if there's no object return, we just add that. So if it's distinct and we already contain an object with that UID, UID is unique identifier for the scriptable object. So every shield, the shield has one UID. The in-game, the game item object, each one will have a different game ID. So the UID says, hey, you can only have one small shield in this. So if that's the case and you already have it, then you're going to return the one that you already have. So they won't return null. It will return the one you already have. That might not be desired in your case because you are receiving a transfer, but it is what it is, and you can, of course, override this if you so choose. And I might change in the future if people say it should be different. Then this is actually a change from a user request just a couple weeks ago. They had a situation where they didn't want to clone. It was always making a clone. So now we added this, make clone. So now if we're making clone, then we get the clone. Otherwise, you get the object. Set the owner to this owner because it has to be this list. Then we add it, the clone to the list with the normal add. We set the affected stats dirty. That's the auto magical part. So we set all the stats that this item affects or the attributes on it affects. And then we add this to Blackboard. That is the optional bit. So it might return empty or return without doing anything. And then return the clone item. All right. All that to say, did it work? Can't even remember now if I oh yeah, we did fix the problem. Okay. Of power. There you go. There you go, ladies and gentlemen, or probably all gentlemen. Let's be honest. There are way too few non-males in the stream and in general on the tech world for whatever reason. So that's too bad. All right, that's the political bit for the last minute. We'll see what happens next. So that's working. That's exciting. Round of applause all around. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. What's next? Oh, yes, I was going to do the thing I didn't want to do. No, not Discord. Oh, hello, Polytheus. Wave to say hi. Yeah, by the way, if you're watching and you haven't come to the Discord, check out the Discord. There are some cool people on this Discord. There's also some weirdos. Actually, there aren't any weirdos. There was a couple years ago a weirdo, but they're not there anymore. So now it's full of cool people, and then a lot of people that are just probably mundane, but it's okay to be mundane. We're all a little bit mundane. I like to tell the kids in my life, the nieces and nephews and the friends' kids, they're like, oh, that's weird. And I like to say, well, either everything's weird or nothing's weird. Because the reality is, if we knew what other people did when nobody was looking, they'd be weird. And if they knew what we were doing, they'd probably be like, you're weird. And yeah, so either we're all weird or no one's weird. What's the difference between game ID and UID? Good question, Corey. I did just talk about, but you may have missed it. And so let's talk about once more, because game ID is a newer concept for the game modules. So if we go over to Which one? Let's look at, I think, stats. Oops. Go to file, game stat. If we look at game stat, UID is a unique identifier on the object down here. So if we go large shield, it has a UID right here. It's automatically generated. It's gibberish. It's you can copy it and you can do all this stuff. And I love that button. I love that copy button. And you can do all this stuff. It's an identifier that identifies each one of these scriptable objects as a unique thing. However, once it gets into the game, you might have 5 large shields in your inventory. So how do you know which one you want to do something with, especially since the UID on the large shield doesn't tell you anything about whether it's got attributes on it or no attributes or something else. It doesn't tell you about the details of it, just tells you that, hey, this relates to this scriptable object. So the game ID is right here. So the game ID, there we are. So game ID is a unique identifier that is specific to each in-game object. When it's created, whenever you call game ID, it's going to create a new one. So if you didn't populate it, then it will create a new one. But this is one that you can populate. So, in one of the demo scenes for the quests, I call it the game ID puppy. I just typed it in because the game ID is there. It's exposed in the inspector. And I typed in puppy because it was the puppy. And I knew that in that demo, there's only one puppy. And sometimes it dies. If you missed that stream, well, yeah, it's the puppy. And you have to save it before it dies. And so there's a puppy. But in other cases, like in this demo, we've got 4 players. I'm not sure who they're going to be. And so they have these game IDs that are gibberish. They've been automatically generated at the beginning. And now when we go to the blackboard, they're used here. So the blackboard, you can now identify which object has that game ID. So if you're looking for the hit points of a player and you care about, any player, doesn't really matter what, you could subscribe to the blackboard and listen for events about hit points. So all you're really caring about is saying, oh, let me, if there's a topic and subject, you can actually see it here. So this is the full name, and then we've got the topic and the subject. So you could be watching for the subject, hit points, and this is the name of the stat dash the type of what we're looking for. It's going to be points, base, final value, final proficiency, or final stat. In this case, we're looking at the points. The value is right here. It's 40. This is updated every time it's changed now. And so if you are a script that cares about player hit points, you might say, hey, let me watch for hit points and then decide, oh, which player is it? And then do something to that player. You can do a lookup on the players, say, give me that player and look it up. Or another example, let's say we got these 4 portraits here, and these portraits know which player they belong to. At start, they get the little gibberish here, and maybe if you move players around left and right, then it goes with them, so it follows. So the player portrait knows whose player it is. It could be watching for this, and maybe this is how the health bar goes down. So it says every time hit points is changed, you'll get an event, health bar will change. And you don't have to worry about doing any update loops. You don't have to worry about checking for it. All you have to do is say, receive the event, and when that happens, do something, and it will do something. So that's why the game ID, that's what the game ID is there, and it's different from the UID because the UID is for making sure that each one of these is a unique scriptable object, and it's also the connective tissue with the repositories. So these repositories hold all of these scriptable objects, and of course scriptable objects, you can't serialize them at runtime, and you're not going to be changing this data. It's a reference. You're going to be looking up data from it, but you're not going to be writing to it. So the idea is, hey, you can't serialize it, so instead you're going to be serializing the UID. And when you serialize the UID and then try to get it from the repository later, it's just going to pull that. So you don't have to worry about linking this. It's going to automatically link. The repositories will do that lifting for you. I need to cough. Hopefully that answer wasn't too long-winded. I'm sure you knew exactly what it was within the first 5 seconds of the answer, but sometimes I'm in a talkative mood. And today is one of those days. All right, so where were we? Oh, yes, I was doing, maybe I'm in a talkative mood because I was doing the put off this type of thing. So again, Not this one. Let me just close everything to the right. We're gonna clean up my window here. We're gonna start with we're gonna start with game condition list, because I think this one's already been fixed up. Let's make sure. Yes, so this is its own thing. Let's open up the other lists. So game item object list and game item attribute list. The loot box list is not affected by the same issue. Game stat list, because it's always been a different thing. And quests, those are the 5 right now, and there will be more. Dialogue will be coming once I finish all this stuff up too. I'll have to figure out that one, but that should be fun. I'm still thinking that might be a good opportunity to really learn how to do the nodes and visual node-based management. I was going to do that for quests, but then I was like, you know what, this actually isn't the best way of doing quests. I can do it in a more efficient way elsewhere. So game quest list. All right, see, these are our quest lists, and I thought I was being clever. And Jason's story, if you're still there and not asleep, then you might remember I was like, hey, look at me. I did some generics. Pat on my back. And then I was doing it more, and I was like, you know what? This is actually a hassle and a half, and I don't think there's any value to it anymore. Because I realized that while indeed most of these have very similar methods on them, and sometimes they're the exact same methods, they also have differences in those methods that kind of make it not generic ability anymore. What's the word? I don't know what the word is. So what I've been putting off is unconnecting these from that, and it's just a copy paste and trial and error thing. But and then eventually I'm going to need to clean these up and make them prettier, add the comments in, make sure they all have the same things, make this a better, because I think this is not a good method right here. It's ugly. This should be one line. In fact, let's just make it one line right now. There it is. It's now one line, and we will do that and return it like that. See, isn't that nicer? That's so much nicer. Oh, yes. Do you see what I'm doing here, though? You realize what I'm doing. I'm putting off the thing I don't want to do. I'm lazy, I guess. All right. It's just so much fun, more fun to make your code smaller like that. I've been trying to do better at making sure it stays to the left of the line too. I think this line is there to be like, this is my desired length, and so I think it's better. But thank you, Corey. I'm glad you think so. I think it's pretty stellar too. I'm very much looking forward to making a demo game project out of it. My thinking is I want to make a tower defense demo. Nothing fancy, just a simple tower defense level that is kind of like just does waves that progressively get harder until you die, just to demonstrate some of the various setup. I'm probably going to do a whole series on how to create it, how to set it up, because in my head when I think about it, I'm like, well, actually, this wouldn't be that difficult to set up all the stuff, especially now that we have these the fancy script you can inherit from that will do all the heavy lifting for you. So hopefully that'll work. I'm mean, just more refactoring stuff. Okay, so no more putting it off. Let's do this shit. All right, game modules list, and so I'm going to bring this up here. I'm going to bring this far to the right. I'm going to bring this to the right since I'm working on it, and we can, and we can click back and forth. So it is now not that. All right, so. And we can also refer back to this to see how did we do this owner. So this is how we did the owner. This is how we did these. Let's just copy those over and we will do a paste. All right, and so this is gonna be I have stats owner. Set owner, I have stats. Owner is owner. Private, I have stats owner. I don't think we're going to need that, but let's find out. And I think what I will do... Yeah, because that is for the conditions. Yeah. So conditions is an interesting one because you have to be IF conditions, but conditions affect stats. So we also need to convert the owner to IF stats. In order to do that, we don't need that here. So this is going to be the item object repository. And if you're a previous user of this, I've separated the items repository into item object repository and item attribute repository. Item object repository. Time now is going to be time board, which means we need to use the static Infinity PBR modules .time board. Such a cool name, time board. It's basically game time with a blackboard attached that automatically will update itself. So instead of having to do some of the game time stuff, you can just get it from the blackboard, the game time, or rather the time board you can get from the time board. In this case, for things like now, it's just easier to do timeboard.gametime.now rather than requiring now to be constantly posted to the time board and just to remove this one line. So time board game time now is now. I don't know if we need now for this, but we're going to have it anyways. The blackboard is pretty cool. It's one of those things, I think I mentioned this in the game dev show maybe last week or the week before. When I first learned about it, which wasn't that long ago, I thought to myself, well, duh. Like, why didn't I know about this before? It's been 10 years since I started learning this stuff, and I'm only now learning this very obvious, very useful tool. Yeah, what can you do? All right, we got more stuff to do here. I'm just going to put a big giant space here that I'm probably going to quickly fill up. We have all these errors here, so I guess we're going to have to bring these things over. So we need a get game ID. So let's game ID. I don't know why we removed game ID. I don't know. Hey, do I not have a... Oh, because it's a conditions list. All right, let's just go down the list. We need a get. And so the get is going to be from here. Yeah. Kind of wish I hadn't gone down this hole in the first place. I'm going to clean it up later. So this is going to be game item object. Add if null is not going to be, this is where I started going like, we don't need this. So we're not going to have the option to add a game item if null. Or should we? I mean, I guess kind of makes sense. Let me think. If you're taking a laser gun and you're saying, hey, give me the laser gun, but you forgot to add it or something, I guess it makes sense to keep that. So we'll keep that. We'll make this a new one. We don't need the new owner. That one is definitely not used. I've removed that from all of them. Distinct. For this one is going to be false because item object list can have many of the same type. That seems reasonable. All right, so we're going to do a whole new method here. And what do we do here? What do we do? This one's see. This one was simple. This one was simple. Get it, and maybe I should probably add the whole add if null thing here too, because that's such a cool concept. So I'm gonna add it here. We're gonna ignore that one. We'll just retype it out. Good exercise, anyways. Cracking my knuckles. All right, so we are going to say so if try get. Not try get, we're gonna have to write try get. So there's that. Let's just do that now. Fine. Try get. Let's copy this. All right. And it's going to be a game item object found if the list. Why isn't our list? Because we have to copy the damn list over too. We didn't copy that part of that over. All right, that's an important bit. And it's a game item object list. All right. Okay, Okay, try get. So first or default game item object where the UID is the UID. That means over here I need to fix that UID. It shouldn't be the lowercase anymore. It should be this UID method instead of just a string. And then we'll return that. Perfect. So if not try get, we're going to pass in the UID and the out var game item object found, then we will do something, and then if otherwise we will do something. We're going to return found. All right, and then if we are if add if null, well, we'll say, actually let's do it like this. If we found it, return found. Otherwise, if we're not adding if null, then we will return default. And then otherwise, we will say add UID. And we need distinct here. And then return, oh, and this we're going to have to change this to var. New item equals that. It does return. Good. Okay, then we'll just return that. And if it is distinct and we already have one, then it should return the one we already have. Yeah. I didn't mute. I'm so sorry. Yeah. So that is that. Whoops. Ah, God darn it. Okay. There we go. So now we have a get. Now we have a option to make this better. Ooh, make it what's that term again? What was it? I just saw. I'm trying the what's it? Null coalescing operator, I believe it's called. So it's basically if we are not adding to null, then we will return default. And so to make this a little bit easier to read, let's just flip these around. There we go. So if we are adding if null, then we will do the add UID. Otherwise, return default. And that should be that. And now let's make a couple others of these because it's fine to get by string UID, but we also need to get by game ID. And so we're going to do public virtual game item object get by game ID. String game ID. Now in this context, there's no ability to add if null because if we don't have the game ID, we don't know what kind of thing to add. Since we have the UID, we can add that, but we don't have that. Ooh, look, a little other thing. Can I just do var here? I can. So let's do var there. Yeah, so there's no ability to add if null here. What all we're going to do here is going to say list dot first or default x dot game ID equals game ID. So it's going to return the first or default of that. So those are the two gets. I suppose what we could also do is a get for a game object or an item object and a game item object where it just gets the first of those. Try get will get us the first or default of those. Yeah, I think I should start writing down all the different methods I need because each one of these is going to have the same methods. So that's pretty obvious and common. That's why I was going to make it generic, but it just wasn't going to work out because there's too many nuances about how they all operate with the different signatures and stuff. All right, so let's do two more gets here. We're going to do public virtual game item object get, and this time we're going to pass in an item object. Oops. Item object, and we will also pass in a bool add if null. And just to make our lives easier, let's just freaking copy paste. And then for this one, we are going to call get item object dot UID and add if null and distinct. Oops, and that, and then we will copy and paste this. They're just going to call this one down there. This one we're going to call item or game item object, and we're going to rename this. Oops. Game item object. Oh, and we're going to spell it right or capitalize it right. Same deal, add if null, blah, 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 all that stuff. It all feeds into here with the UID and all that jazz. So we only have one method that does the heavy lifting rather than having to do it 3 times. That's a lesson I learned at some point in the past. It's a good lesson to learn. Welcome to the stream, everyone. By the way, I am glad you're here. Please do like and subscribe. Come to Infinity PBR, join the Discord, blah, 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 blah. All that good stuff. It's fun. All right, so get by game ID. I think this is the only way we can really do that, but we could do a try get by game ID. Do I have any other try gets here? Oh, look, I do. Or I did in the other thing. So let's add a try get by game ID. Try get. Try get game. Oops. Try get game. Gosh darn it. A game ID, and string is going to be game ID, and we're going to do the same thing, first or default, but instead we can just call this. Again, we don't want to recreate the wheel, so we are going to no, we have to yes, let's not recreate the wheel. So we're going to do var found equals try, or just not try. We're going to get by game ID, and we're going to get the game ID, and then found object. So that's our found object, and then we can basically say. Actually, no, we have to say it's not var found, it's just going to be found. All right, so var found, and that assigns it to this out variable. And then return found does not equal null. There we go. Which is very similar to this. I only had to change one line, but I changed both because I guess I'm an overachiever. And that should be a try get by game ID. Perfect. I like it a lot. We could also do 2 more try gets though by these 2, so we should, because that gives everybody options, and options sometimes are a good thing. So virtual, and we should make those other ones virtual. That's going to happen in all the cleanup stuff. Try get, and we're going to pass in a item object. No. Yes. Should we? I mean, with try get, if you're doing try get, then you're not expecting to add it. If it you know, because if you were adding if null with a try get, then you'd always get it. It would always be true. So the assumption that I'm going to make is that if you're using try get, you're okay with it not being there. You're not going to want to add it if null. Otherwise, you'll just do the get, and you'll just get it. So we're going to not add the whole add if null mumbo jumbo. And for this one, let's see how we're going to do this. We are still going to call the one down here. So we're going to call a return. Actually, no, we're going to say found equals try get, and then pass in the item object UID, and then out found what is the how would we do this? I did this before. Let's have a play. Let's check out the latest attractive person on the street, ChatGPT, and look at all these different things I've used with it. All right, we're going to say Unity C#, set the stage for the robot, and we're going to say, how can I make this work? That's all we're going to say. Pass that in, and let's see. It looks like you're trying to find a method yet, but that's true. I am. I am. That's true. The implementation is trying to call the same method. Yeah, I know. That's the problem. So here's how I can fix it. Initialize the out parameter. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. So it's saying basically start out by saying found is null. Make that assumption, essentially. And then bool result is going to be this without found. And the var was causing an issue as well. And then return result. All right, and this can be a var. And that should do the trick. So let's just walk it through ourselves without looking at the... hey, how are you doing, Uri? We got found as null. And then we're going to assign result to... Okay, so the try get will assign found here, which I think this is incorrect because it's always discarded. So I think what we need to do is return found, found is not equal to null. And I think we just need to do that. So instead of doing the... yeah, I guess it's the same thing. We can immediately return out try get out found. Oh, look at that. All right, that's better. I like it. So we assign found to null. If we find it, it will go here and it will go here. How come it's still saying it's always discarded? I feel like this should not be grayed out here. Is it because I say found equals null? So ChatGPT didn't give us the right answer. I think it gave us a slightly wrong answer, but we're going to ask it. Why is does this work? We're just going to say that. Does this work? And let's see what it says. Yes, it works. It should work. The out parameter found will be initialized to the value returned by the inner try get method. The return value of the outer try get method will be the same as the inner. ChatGPT says that this isn't always discarded, I suppose. So basically this is going to call this one. I just want to call it with the UID right here. Out found. So yeah, I guess I need found equals var found or let's be specific here. Game item object found equals null. So found 2 equals null. And out found 2. And then we can say found equals found 2. And then we can say, but see, it still says found doesn't get used. Return found does not equal null. The other alternative here, ladies and gentlemen, is simply doing this. And I think for this purpose, I ain't fancy. That's what I think. Because, yeah, sometimes I guess not doing it all in one is fine. I swear I did figure this out once somewhere else. In fact, honestly, if I just search these, I probably will find exactly where I did it. Because if I did solve it before, then I probably solved it on one of these, and then I could just remind myself. Ooh, I don't even have it there yet. Okay, try get game ID, try get. There's only the one. Ooh, a lot more work to do. Try get. Maybe I didn't solve it. Oh well. This works. So how about we simply move on? Donkey Kong. Let's see. I think all these are just these overrides because they're no longer overrides. And so I just need to delete. Read above. It's about if you use it or not somewhere else. Wait, what? Writer saying it's not used by anything. Nothing uses the found in these methods called. Does that it's saying it's nothing uses it or that it's not used at all? Because it should be used as the out parameter, right? I would think. Delete that. And so this is just fixing this transfer to, which was the generic method before, and now it's not going to be. So we can remove a lot of this random checks that I had to do, and that makes me happier. Oh, so it will work. So ChatGPT was correct, and not as smart as you. Don't worry, Uri. You are safe in my book for at least 2 more years before it gets smarter than you. No, don't worry. It'll never be smarter than you. Okay. So then let's go back up there and do it right then. So what we're saying is here is found equals, and we're going to do try get item object dot uid out found, and oops, and we will add the comma, and we will we don't need to, so return that. So if I'm reading this correctly, we are saying assign this value. It's going to give us an either a null or an object. So this will assign to found, and then we're returning whether this is true or not. So if that's the case, it makes me happy because I do love doing this. That's prettier. Thank you, Uri. I appreciate you and everybody else watching the stream. But mostly you right now. Don't tell them. Shh, it's a secret. What if this entire stream was just ASMR and my coding was clicky clacky, clicky clacky, clicky clacky, oops, clickety clackety, clickety clackety. I'd have to get one of those crazy, really loud keyboards that some people like. And then the entire thing would just be me whispering until I accidentally put myself to sleep. That would be crazy, right? I mean, that's insane. Why would a person do an ASMR coding video that probably exists on YouTube already? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do an ASMR coding video. It sounds like it takes a lot of work to whisper for all that time. What if ASMR started because somebody wanted to start a YouTube channel, but like there was somebody in the next room and they didn't want to wake them up, so they had to be quiet, and then other people were like, ooh, that makes me feel so good. I got this ASMR thing in my brain. And then they're like, really? That's a thing? And then their exploder went up. They're like, oh, yep. Take your like away. Okay. Why is this doing a thing here? Can't resolve game item object because we have transfer object. All right. And remove game ID. Oh, remove the object with the game ID. Try get game ID. We return. Otherwise, we set the effective stack sturdy. Then we remove game ID. and we're all good there by game ID. Then we add to the blackboard as an option because a change event basically occurred. Set the owner. This is going to be I have stats now, and we're gonna get rid of all that crap. And owner, right? Do we not have owner? Maybe I have to copy it over from oh, we do. We already have a set owner. Oh, but we do need to do this. All right, so we need to update this set owner way up here to do owner equals owner, and for each game item object in our list, set the owner to owner. That's very onerous. Get it? Ba-boom. I'll be here only a little bit of the night. Infinite recursion. Uh-oh. Remove game ID. Look at you. You've got an eye for something here. Oh. You're right. I do. I do. Oh, that's what that says. You probably saw that and knew exactly what it meant. Okay. So where is my remove game ID then? Am I... Please use remove game ID. Isn't that nice? I started using the obsolete tag. Remove game ID. All right, so it's probably here then. I just need to copy it over. Or actually just do the removal here. Yeah, do the removal here. So this is going to be this dot remove this is what I need. I need a public void remove game item object, and I might already actually have this. Let me find out. Do I? Ooh, I do. So this is I'm gonna take back my obsolete message here. I'm also gonna remove my comments. I'm gonna redo the comments later. All right, so let's look at these removes first, and then we'll use these. So we are removing Okay. This is another place where there's differences between all the different things. So this is actually going to be a remove all method, because shoot. All right, well, this is taking into account game item attributes, and that's a different thing. We'll come back to that. And we will... Okay. We're gonna have to make our own remove game ID. Okay, I got it now. Remove game ID. All right, I think I got it now. All right, so we'll just say list.remove found. All right, that should work. I was overthinking it. I was overthinking it. So list remove found, because that's going to be the game item object we found. And then remove this to black, or add this note to Blackboard. Okay. Now I also want to do a remove game ID, or remove this, and it's going to be very similar. We don't need to do that. We're just removing the game ID or the game item object. It's an explicit one. So we're going to do that, and we're done. And so now up here, instead of doing this, we can say remove that. I think that is what I originally was doing. The recursive thing was, it was basically this. So that's actually interesting. So this, let me talk it through. This is a game item object list. It's a list of items, as in many games. Sometimes you can have only one item of a thing. Sometimes you might have many. You might have 5 laser guns in your inventory, for example. So remove game ID will only remove a very specific game ID. Those are in-game IDs, so there should only ever be one item. If we don't have it, then we can't remove it. Otherwise, remove that exact thing, which goes to here, which is a game item object, and we're moving an exact thing. So I think what we need to do is rename this to be I'm just going to change it here and forget that thing. And we're going to say remove exact. And then this is going to be removing an exact game item object from the list versus a remove where we pass in a game item object and it just removes the very first one with the same UID. And perhaps the item attributes, which is what the other removes did before. So let's just look at the other removes real quick. Remove all is going to say, oh, this would be a bug. So remove all is going to remove all of them, and it's, you think, oh, set the effects stats dirty by the UID, except these are game items. They might have on them game attributes. So you need to call set effects stats dirty of the item object, not the parent, because the parent doesn't have the item attributes on it. So that is a good catch by me. Pat on my chest. And now, so we will say, instead of list remove all, we'll just start with a for each. And we're going to say, what are we going to say? That didn't work. For each game item object in list, we will say affected stats dirty for the game item object, and then we will so we'll do that first. We'll do the affected stats, then we will just remove them all. That'll work. And then we'll add the note to the blackboard as an option. But we are forgetting one thing. List.where x.uid is equal to UID. So only the ones that match the UID. We will set those affected stats dirty, and then we will do that. We can probably, I don't need to make that a link statement. This is fine. Yeah, so that should be good. And so that's a remove all by a UID. We can do similar things here. Oh, remove at. That's a nice one too. We gotta do a lot of that. I really should be writing. I'm gonna write these down when I'm not streaming because that's too boring. And I don't want to bore you people. Oh, I should have changed the suitcase in the title. Oh well. All right, so we're gonna make a public void remove all where we bring in a item object. Item object, and in this one we're going to basically say remove all item object dot UID, and then we will do a very similar one for a game item object. Call this game item object, and then remove all of that UID. So now we've got 3 ways of removing all. You can call any of those in and be done with it. Remove at is an index. That's very simple, very straightforward. There's no other way about it. Yeah, I'm not gonna expand on that. That one is perfect the way it is. Now I've got that song, the Bruno Mars song, in my head, just the way you are, because you know this function is perfect, just the way it is, and baby, it was born this way. All right, so remove exact works. Remove, transfer, receive, transfer, add. Receive, transfer, we can make this game item object. Distinct true, make clone. I think this all works fine. Transfer to, transfer object, transfer to, receive, transfer, all that stuff works fine. I think we have our adds, we have our tick actions, which I'm going to try to remove. We'll do that in a bit. Check for changes, we're definitely going to remove. We're definitely going to remove this. We are going to remove this comment because I want to redo them all anyways as I go through another time and confirm once again that they do what I think they do. Remove all. So let's remove these remove all from here and put them down by the other remove alls. Okay, so this is the difference between these two remove all. This is saying remove all of that type of all this game object, of this UID, etc. This remove all says, hey, remove all of this UID if it has this attribute ID. So now instead of saying remove all small shields, we're saying remove all small shields of power. Another way of looking at this, let's say in a real game mechanic, here's a good example, I think. Let's say you have in your inventory crystal skulls, and that somehow during the game, some items that are marked breakable can break. And maybe you say, these are worthless, and so actually, better example. It was probably the same. It probably was a fine example. But let's say you've got crystal skulls. Some of them, though, are crystal skulls of power. And those ones are worth more. And they get robbed. Somebody steals stuff from you, but they were smart. They knew which ones were of power. They took all the crystal skulls of power. Oh, and that means I need a transfer all method. Because really, if they took it and they have an inventory, then we need to transfer it to their inventory, all of them. You could just do a loop in your game, but I think having that built in would be better. All right, we'll need to do a transfer all method. Oh well. Oh well. Say lovey. But remove all. So this is going to be an attachment, or not attachment, a attribute, and it's hidden by overload. It says how many remove alls do we have? Neither of those are overloading it or whatever. Why are all these down here? Obsolete methods. We're just going to do that. We're just going to go crazy. All right. Does that solve that problem that we were just facing? All right. Remove all. It still says... Oh, because it's an optional parameter. I see. Because it's an optional parameter, then it's basically the same as this other one down there. So these can't be null, which is just as well because we have a remove all that doesn't have that. So if you don't have an attribute, then you use the other one. No big deal. All right, let's do the main one here based on the UID. Set affected stats dirty UID. That is incorrect because we're looking for that specific one. So first we need to find that specific one. So we need a try get that brings in this too. This is where it gets complicated. Okay, so let's see. We're going to say var found equals try get, and we need a one that has a UID, and we also have the attribute UID. That's gonna, and we out found. Oh yeah. If we didn't do that, then we do something out var found. This is broken because we don't have it. So let's go to our try gets, and we will add them. We'll do it up here. All right, so now we're going to add in a new parameter here. We're going to call this string attribute UID. And I'm not going to make, so if you think about it, if I made 3 versions for this, I'm not going to make 9 versions of this, because that's ridiculous. So we're just going to, for this one, maybe we'll just do the one, and folks can, if they're using this, they can just call the UIDs. Honestly, all you have to do instead of passing this game IM object, just passing the UID. Actually, pull for the group. Excuse me, pull for the group. Let me just restate what I was rambling about there. If you were to call one of these, you could say, let's just do public void test. You would say something like try get UID, whatever the string is, UID string, and that, right? Or you would do, new item object and pass, just say item object and pass in an item object, wherever that is. Or you could just do .uid, item object.uid. So the question for the group is it a hassle typing .uid? I mean, it would actually be UID like this. Oh, God damn it. It would be looking like this. Is it so much of a hassle to do that? Because if I do that, then I don't have to have all 3 versions here. I like having all 3 versions because it's kind of easy, but does it matter? Should I have all 3 versions? You can let me know. I think I'm going to have it for now, and maybe I'll remove them later. But for now, I'm not going to make 9 versions of this with all variations of possibilities. We're just going to stick with the UIDs here. All right, so found where that equals that, and x.attributes.contains, or x. We can actually use this has attribute, attribute UID. All of those. Do we have an extra one of those? I guess so. So found is where the UID matches and the attribute matches. So we're trying to get one of those that matches. If we didn't find, return null. Okay, so that's a try get there. Do I need a try get with an array of attribute IDs? No. No, I don't. Not right now, at least. All right, so that's our try get with that. And now back in our remove all. Okay, so we try to get God damn it. No, it's not remove all. It's just remove. There's too many versions of remove and remove all. I think where's our normal removes? Didn't we have just normal remove? We did. Okay. Let's just get rid of that. Or we didn't. Okay. That's helpful. We have game ID and exact. Those are very unique. We have remove all, which I think we should just rename remove. Should we have one that's a remove with an all parameter as a bool, or should we have separate remove and remove all? I guess separate kind of makes more sense. It's more explicit. Corey, you're saying, yeah, keep the options till you have a definite reason to cut them. That makes sense too. But it also means I have to add them to the other scripts. But that's okay. I don't mind. All right, so I think I'm going to keep remove all separate from remove. It just means I do need double, because I'm going to have to do remove all with this UID thing, because the UID or the attribute ID is a good, it's a good add-on, because there are going to be use cases, I think, where you have crystal skulls of power that you want all removed, that type of thing. So it's a use case that I can see being valuable. So we'll go through the motions. All right. So we're doing remove for this. We'll do remove all in a bit. So we're going to try get an enum. Let me think about that for a second. I've got my user hat on. I'm working with game modules because I realize it's the best tool in the world. And so I'm smart. And since I'm a smart person, will I know to use the enums? Some smart people who are new to Unity might not know. As a smart person who isn't new to Unity and understands what that is, would it be easier to use that, or would it be easier just to say remove all and remove? No, it's not an acceptable reason, Corey. That's a lazy ass reason. I don't want to be that. I'm gonna add them. I think I'm gonna keep these separate as remove all and remove, just so it's very explicit. It does one thing. This one removes. This one removes all. Just to keep it very explicit. So let's do the remove. We're gonna try get it, and if we don't, then return, because we can't do anything then. So this is just removing one thing, and now that we have the thing, we can say remove thing game ID. So found.game ID, or remove by game ID, by game ID, or was it just remove game ID? Yeah, remove game ID, and that will do all the other magical stuff that that we expect to happen. This can actually be made smaller. We can just do this, if then remove, and I think this could be made even smaller. I think, let's see, can it be made smaller? Smaller? It's definitely a word. Don't dispute me on that. Can this be made shorter? Maybe it can't. It's got the, oh yes it can. The ternary, that's why I was thinking the ternary, but I didn't know where I would put it though. Oh, interesting. So let's just, we're not gonna copy paste, because I want to get that muscle memory for this, because I thought it could be made smaller, but I couldn't think in my head where to put that question mark. So we are going to type this out. We're going to say try get UID, an attribute UID, and then out var found. And if that is not null, then we will remove game ID. And we will copy this part because, you know, I am a little bit lazy. And then if we delete that, then it seems to, or null, I see. So it's basically saying, and then of course we can do this because that's one of my most favorite things to do in life. And then check it, and it's still breaking. So let's see. I need this. That's what I need. And it's still breaking. So where are we being led astray by the AI? First of all, did I copy it, paste, or did I type it in properly? It looks like I did, but what it's saying is that this doesn't work. And it's saying that only assignment, call, increment, decrement, expression, new object expressions can be used as a statement. So it's basically saying try get. Try get is true. Then remove found game ID. This seems like it would work, but it's not. So I'm just going to undo. I was hoping to be clever, but this is perfectly fine too. All right, so we got a remove of those. And again, since there's two, I'm not going to make multiple versions. Although I have that right here. Okay. So let's do a remove all. Down here, and for this, all right, where the UIDs match and x dot has attribute of attribute UID. I mean, I got distracted all of a sudden because I realized I think we can make this a little smaller too, because I just repeated some code. And whenever you repeat code, there is perhaps an opportunity for efficiency, is what I've learned. And so we do have this in two different places. We have, this is first or default, and this is where. So I guess perhaps that's not an opportunity for us. All right, so for each one, set affected, set story, instead of each one, we're going to remove game object ID dot game ID, and we're going to see remove game ID that for each. And this is going to be remove all. All right, so we have a remove all with those two, and we have a remove with those two. Corey, I am going to cut this because I don't want, as I said, if it's two, then you just get the UIDs. We have remove at. We have to do transfers, add. I need more simple removes. How many do I have? Just the one. All right, so I just need a remove that is okay, remove without this, and it's going to be this dot remove first or var found equals this dot first or default x dot uid equals uid if found equals null, return, otherwise list dot remove found. and then two more. Since there's only one, remove game item object. I thought we already did this. Didn't we already do this? I feel like we already did it and I accidentally deleted it. Yeah, I swear, because I was like saying, oh, I was overthinking it. That's in the remove exact. Oh, when we pass that in. So we just pass that in. We instead of yeah, we should just remove exact on these, since we don't need to, we already have the game ID. And remove exact will do the removal actions that we need to do whenever we remove things. Okay, and then so remove UID, same deal. We found it, so now remove exact found. I just accidentally scrolled down. So now when we do the game ID, we're going to say remove game UID, and that is that, and we'll make the copy of it and do the item object version, and nope, not game item object, just item object version. Call this item object, and that is that. All right, so now these are not doing the removal themselves, they're passing that responsibility onto remove exact. Makes a lot of sense to me. Remove exact does it does it multiple times for all of them. Remove all is just removing all, which does the same thing. They all end up with remove exact. All right, do we have enough removes now? I think so. We only need one remove at. All right, transfer to. So we're gonna make two new. Wait a minute, let me think. So transfer to is supposed to do receive transfer. Oh yeah, it does. So object at destination is we're transferring it there, and it does this, and then we if it wasn't able to transfer, if it for whatever reason we return null. Otherwise we do all this stuff where we remove the game ID, okay, remove game ID, and can we use remove exact for this one? So when we move it, we do a clone. In this case, the clone's true, so we're going to make a clone. That way, when we remove it here, it doesn't. It's not worried about that. So we can do remove exact. That removes one call. Okay, and then we don't need to do this or this, because remove exact will do that for us. That's nice of it. All right, so we first transfer it, then we do that, then we do that. Okay, now let me just check receive, and then we'll expand on these. So if the game object is null, then return default. So transfer contains both a send and receive option. No, if you want to send and not receive, then you just do a remove. Sending means there's a place it's going, and when there's a place that it's going, that place is set to receive it. Excuse me. So that means I'm set. I actually this changed this. It used to be like the transfer was just transfer, no transfer to, and there was no receive transfer, and the transfer did all the work on both. And I realized, wait, what's the term? Separation of responsibilities, I think it is, where every object should be responsible for itself, and that's why we grab the object of the destination by transferring it to confirm that it successfully got there. And once it gets there, then we remove it here, and it's a clone. And then the other list is going to be responsible for this aspect, which is, you know, checking if it's null, checking to see if we already have it. This is interesting though. So when we receive it, it could return the one it already has. So what happens if you have a sword and I have a sword and I want to give you a sword, if you already have the sword, I still want you to take the sword. So I think distinct equals false. Okay, so we pass distinct as false. All right, so this won't happen because distinct is false, so you'll get the sword. Okay. You could always mark that differently. And just, I suppose, if it matters, you can do a check before you do the transfer. Does it have the item? Then you don't do the transfer because it matters that it has the item and you don't want it to do this default logic. That makes sense to me. Okay, so we set the owner to the new owner. We clone it, and then we set the owner to the new owner. Then we add to our list, set the effects dirty, and add to Blackboard that something was changed, and we are good to go there. So I think this is good. What we need now, though, is a method of doing this with a game item object and a game item attribute. Item attribute, and then we will say no, we don't need this. We don't need this because if we look at the transfer to, it's expecting you to know what you're transferring. You're transferring this object, which means if you're going to use this method, you've already pulled the object that you're going to transfer. Attributes and all, you know exactly what one you're transferring. So we don't need to do another one. But I do need to turn on this little heater. This mini heater by my mini legs. It's getting a mini chili. All right, so those are fine. Add does a vanilla copy. It will not include all of the attributes and stuff. If it contains, return that. Okay, list add a new one. Get by UID. From the repository, the UID. This is incorrect. The new item is not just get whatever one. This is actually, we're going to do list carrot. Is that right? This is some new code stuff that Ryder taught me, and it's not right. Maybe it's find. Okay, well, it'll tell me because this is how I did it. List list.count -1, and then it will say, oh, hey, you know, there's a new way of doing it. Yes, 1 from the end. So this new, you putting this caret here gives you the last, and I'm guessing that doing 2 would give me the second from the end. So isn't that cool? You learned something new today, maybe. Or you already knew that because you're smarter than me. All right, so that's that. This is that. So this will handle generic items like rusty sword and stack them in your inventory, and unique items like the master sword. Correct. The master sword would be it could be an object, an item object that you just call the master sword, and it doesn't have extra attributes. It just is what it is. Or if you wanted there to be many the master things which all have the same attribute add, then you could create an item attribute and name it the master. Then you could have the master sword, the master helmet, the master crystal skull of power, etc., where the master is an attribute that goes onto sword, and then you can have the master version of any item that you so choose. Yep. So you have options there. If you've got something there's only ever one the master sword, then it's probably easier just to make it an item object that is itself a thing. Mark it as a quest object, because that is also, that's a thing I need to code. I forgot. The quest system needs to have the concept of quest objects or quest items that you can mark as saying this item's a quest item, and the quest module will treat those differently. And that also adds the concept for this, when we get to the remove stuff, that there needs to be a thing that says, can it be removed? Because in some cases, it can't. And another use, besides like a quest item that you can't destroy, you can't get rid of a quest item because that would ruin the game. Aside from stuff like that, you can also imagine an item that's like a cursed helmet. Once you equip it, you can't unequip it. Although that could be done already with dictionaries, so maybe we won't build that into it. But certainly the quest system will have a concept of quest items, and the concept that you can't remove a quest item. I got sick right before Thanksgiving. That's around the 25th or so of November, and I'm still coughing. It's much better than it was, but I still cough, and it's not horrible, but it's there. All right, add. So this just does the adds. This does the add. So we fixed this. This should be good now because we're getting the new item that we actually added, not just a random one of the same UID. And we're setting the effects dirty of that, and then we are returning that new item. Okay, perfect. Now, that was a lot, and I've probably missed stuff from here. Do I have contains? I do. Do I have set owner? I think I do. Yes. Okay. Do I have contains game ID? I don't. All right. Contains. This takes. What do I have? How many contains do I have? Not that many. Interesting. Okay. So we have one contains that has the option for an item attribute. I mean, I suppose I could do. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Getting sidetracked. Okay. So public bool contains, and we're going to pass in item object UID or item object, and this is just going to return contains item object.uid, and we'll copy paste that and do one for the game item object. I'm in a copy paste kind of mood. Game item object. Whoops. All right. So now we got some contains, and what does this contain? Again, I want to keep the concept that if there's two, you use UIDs. Contains type. Object type. If any of them are that type, then great. Let's do another one. Contains attribute. And we're going to bring in UID. List any x dot has attribute UID. That's a string. And so this is going to be helpful for if, like, let's say you go to the healer, and if you have an item that's cursed, the healer says, oh, you know, I can fix that item for you for a fee. Then you just have to call, does it contain the item or contains the attribute cursed? Then you know, okay, let's run this and do this thing. Otherwise, it's not. Yes, the system is already a monster. It's better than now, though. It's as it's grown, it's gotten more unwieldy in the sense that there's just a lot, and there was a fair amount of setup that a folks would have to do, a person would have to do, and I'm fixing that now. I think I'm fixing it to a large degree. There's still gonna be some setup because it is flexible. I still want people to realize and know and really get the sense that they can make this their own, but for the general use case of, hey, this character has stats, I'm just going to use the actor. It already has all these methods built into it. And, you know I'm not going to use conditions on this, but I'm just going to use the actor anyways, because why not? And then it just works from that point on. It's like an easy peasy setup for all sorts of things. And that's why I want to demo this with a tower defense game, because the towers and maybe even a hero and the bad guys will all be the same. They'll all be actors. They'll all have the same stuff on them. And it'll be a good demonstration of how easy it will be to create different variations of all these different things and have it just magically, deliciously work. All right, so contains attribute is going to be that. Public bool count. Do we have any counts? How many counts do we have? We can count in various ways. We have none. Okay, so we're going to say count items with attribute string UID, and this is going to be list.count x has attribute UID. Oh, it's an int. All right, and let's flesh both of these out. Since there's only one, we can say give us a item attribute and change this to item attribute and make this a .uid, and then do a similar thing with game item attribute and game item attribute. Oh my goodness, tribute. All right, and then we'll do the same thing down here. Do some copy and pasting. And instead of any, it's going to be count. And instead of bools, it's going to be ints. And that should do the tricky trick. All right, so now we can say contain attribute, how many items with a specific attribute. You can write your own methods too if you want to get really crazy. Oh, we should do a count of type. Public int count of items of type, string object type. It's going to be list.count x.object type equals object type. That'll give us how many of a specific type, so shields, swords, etc. What other counts and contains do we need? If we have contains on generic things, And we could do it contains UI game ID. Public bool contains game ID and string game. Whoops. String game ID. And this is just going to return get by game ID. Game ID does not equal null. Okay, that's a fun one. All right. So we have all these, all those gets. I think we said those are good. Add if null. That's good. Modification level, that's good. Relink prefabs, it's also good. It's used for the inventory. All right. That one took longer than I expected because it had so many different things. And I know I'm not finished. Actually, I was going down this list, wasn't I? We have set dirty, right? We don't. What just happened? I hit a key and that happened. We don't have set dirty, huh? Excuse me. We should build that. So public void set dirty, and this is just going to say for each var item object, or we'll say game item object in list game item object dot set dirty. But what is set dirty actually? Let's think about that. What does set dirty mean? Set dirty doesn't mean the object's dirty. It means this is dirty. And so we're really going to be doing that when we set dirty. Yeah. That's what we're going to do when we're set dirty. And so is there a similar thing on the game item object set dirty? What happens? It's not implemented. If we were to call it on this, then what we'd really be trying to say is owner is, do we have a list, parent list? We don't have that concept yet here. I'm doing it in the stats list. Maybe I'll add it here. But I was going to do is call this, but what we can do is just add this here to this one as well, and say this. We don't need to call out there. Owner. We need to add that. Owner, since that's dirty, directly affects list. And so if we're saying dirty as a common method that's on all of these, what we're really going to do, if not dirty value, then return otherwise set affected stats dirty. And now owner as a concept we need up here as well. This is another thing I just need to add to all there. It's gonna, yeah. So we have a parent, that's the scriptable object. And set owner. Okay, so we're going to remove this one because that's old news. And instead, we're going to say set owner, owner. Okay, I'm going to actually change this. I want to not have owner be living in two places, because the owner of this is the owner of the list. And what this needs is to know where it belongs. It needs to know its place. So we're going to do a private game item object list. And we're going to call this parent list. And we're going to then say a public game item object list parent list is going to be parent list. And then Ryder's going to say, hey, you idiot, didn't you know you can do an auto property if you click the button the right way? So parent list get, but we are going to do a set as well. So let me undo that. I want to do public void set parent list game item object list new we'll just say list, and that's going to be parent list equals value. We changed to value. And I guess now it's telling me I can still do auto property, and it's going to do that. Okay. So parent list is now get and private set, and set parent list is going to say parent list equals value. I could make that a public set, and then we just have to say parent list equals this on the list, but I think we'll keep it private for that purpose. Why are we erroring here? What did I do? Owner. Alright, so then that means once we have that, we can say private I have stats owner is going to be parent list dot owner. There we go. So now our owner is always going to be the parent list owner. We don't have to worry about that. So when the transfer happens and all that, the owner will just be automatically populated. We do need to set the parent list though now. And then the set owner doesn't matter anymore. This can go away. And then we can just do owner equals owner. And we can do a more common thing called value here. That's cleaner. I like it. It's better that way. But we need to also now do, whenever we do adds and transfers, we need to set the parent list. This is actually a question, if anyone of you know, is there a way for a child in a list to get a reference to the list it's in, to the object that is holding it? Or is rather the object that is holding the list that it is in? That is something I was looking up and I could not find information on it, so I was thinking maybe that's not a thing. ChatGPT didn't even help me, I don't think. Is there a way for a object in a list to get a reference to the object that, to the class, I guess, class that contains the list it is in? Oh, you can. You can use a method to pass the reference to the contained class. Well, that's what I'm about to do. Yeah, okay. Is there a way for the object in the list to know its parent class, the containing class without being told explicitly? A generic class. No, don't want to do this. I don't think it's getting what I'm looking for. I think the answer is basically no, but that's okay. All right, so we have our wherever it was. Oh yeah, so our thing was every time we add or transfer, we need to set that parent list. So let's just go through set factor, get modification level, get by game ID, try get game ID, contains, count, tickety tick, we gotta get rid of that. Add. Add. So the add is here, new item is going to be that, and so we're gonna say new item dot parent set parent list to this. Yep, that should do it. So do that. Clone set owner, we don't need to do that anymore, but we do need to say clone dot set parent list to this. Transfer to does not need to do it because the receive transfer will handle that. Remove, set dirty, and that is it. Perfect. So now every game item object should know what list it belongs to, and automatically do all its stuff. That's much nicer than the having owner set in two places at once. And I think that means we can do some other cool things. Maybe. Alright. What are we doing on the tick here? Hold on, let me just look through this before I dive into the tick. How long has this stream been going on for? Where's my counter clock? Do I have a clock count somewhere telling me how long I've been doing this? Yes, 2 hours 43 minutes. Not bad, not bad, not bad. 2 hours 43 minutes. There's one time that I saw 19 people watching, which I think might be a record, and I say it's because, well, first because I'm super special and nice, and second because of that really cool key image I had up there. By the way, if you're new to the stream, thank you for watching and checking it out. Definitely like and subscribe and come back because this is some fun shiznits, and I hope I can entertain you while I entertain myself for a while. So I'm gonna the whole initial setup and the tick is what I really want to do, and this is a method that I have to always make sure to add. I can't forget that these methods have to be here. So in this, the scriptable objects have dictionaries, and whenever this loads up, we do need to check to make sure that we have the right stuff. If there's new dictionary stuff, we need to add it. If there's old stuff that we have that it doesn't have, we need to remove it. But yeah, okay, that's a whole nother topic. Add attribute. Let's see, distinct and has attribute, then return. Generally, you'd only want one attribute of a type on that, otherwise you might get of power. Recompute the human name, yeah, okay, distinct, blah, 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 return if the attribute equals get it. Alright, and then if the parent can't use it, then abort. Alright, and then otherwise we add it to the list using that list's add. So that's going to create a clone. Well, it's not a clone, it's just going to create the object because we're not actually creating an object anywhere here. What does this do? Okay. I see. What is this thing? Ah, that's probably why it was type. Okay. All right. What is this saying? This derives from module scriptable object. Oh, we're on the item object here. I thought we were on the game item object. I think we can remove this because module scriptable object has it. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I thought we were on the game item object still, but we were not. All right. Can't edit set dirty. If we aren't going to rename or the name doesn't change anything, then we return. Okay. Remove an item attribute from the list. Remove the owner. Is null. Does not equal null. So the owner is definitely not null now. That's the benefit of doing what we just did. It should never be null. So we can do this and say owner now. We have to figure out what is set stats dirty. I think. Okay, so let's set dirty. This is what, okay, remove attribute. So, I see what we're doing here. Okay, so what we can do is, instead of doing it like this, we'll say this is going to be a list stat and stat list, and then we're going to say equals null, and down here, oh man, down here we will say a boom. If the owner is, or if stat list equals null, then we will do this and return. So undo, 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 because we have a better way, better way, better way. So owner is null. Then here we say stat list equals null. If true, then we do that. Otherwise, stat list. So now we will do one of the two. So that means we can do it like that. And we can do null propagation, no coalescing expression, which means stats list, if it's null, then we return this. Otherwise, so if it's not null, we return it. Otherwise, we return the directly affects list. So now, in the remove attribute method, instead of saying the set stats dirty, we're going to say set affected stats dirty, get the attribute directly affects list, and that's that. So any stat that the attribute we're about to remove effects has to be recomputed after we remove it, so we're going to set those dirty. Then we're going to order of operations here. No, that happens the next frame. The way I'd set it up is that it will wait till the next frame to actually do the recomputation of the stats. Okay. Then the attributes, remove the attribute ID. If we're not recomputing the name, other we have to return. Okay. That's good. Add attribute. So set stats dirty is just not, that's not, we're not going to use that anymore. We don't need that. We've got just this method is fine. Or we can say set dirty. I'm only keeping set dirty because I want that to be like a common method that you know they all have. And they all do whatever it is that they do when they're dirty. When they're dirty methods. So dirty method. Here's such a dirty method. Alright. Okay, let's look at this initial setup. How does this get called? It's called on tick actions. So I think what we need to do is not make it happen during tick actions because we want to get rid of tick actions entirely. So let's take a step back and go to the list. Game item object list. So start actions. So we've got start actions, and when it does it, we know that the owner isn't null and the blackboard isn't null. So if we want to do this initial setup here, what we can do instead is say start actions, and just keep that naming convention going. We'll remove it from here, so now it's not being called. It's only ever being called once, so we don't need to track whether it's been complete, because it's only being called once. We already know that owner is set. We know that owner is set. We know the blackboard is there. So there's really nothing stopping us at that point from continuing. So I don't think it needs to be an IEnumerator. If it were, because we're checking dictionaries, we just need to know if the parent dictionaries and parent, so that's a scriptable object, it's going to get the parent from the repository. So we could make an IEnumerator just to be absolutely sure that we have the repository. If the blackboard is there, then we should have the repository as well. That's just the way it generally works. But to be absolutely clear, let's do this. So it's gonna be a public IEnumerator start actions, and we're just gonna copy this and wait for the repository. Should be already there, but you know, while item object repository equals null, yield return nil, and the nil, I just said it weird, and then we do that. So this is our start actions, and we can call this from the list right here. So we can say for each var item or game item object in list, we say game item object dot start no, we do it like this. We do start coroutine. Oh, we can't start a coroutine from here because it's not a mono behavior, I think. Right? This dot start actions. Not list. We can't do a coroutine. We can't start a coroutine. Right, because it's not a mono behavior, I believe. Yeah, because this gets started. later. All right, so I guess we're gonna play a while because the reality is, I mean, start actions. Well, actually, this is what we'll do. We will then do another yield. No, we can't do that. So we're just going to make another check here. An owner is null, and we will say, whoa, 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 what buttons should I be pressing here? Or item object repository equals null. Then we're okay. So we'll wait for it there. Just another thing, no big deal. We're all friends, right? And then we'll just do a standard method on the game item object instead. So it's going to be a public void start actions. We don't need to wait because we already waited for it, and check dictionaries and do that. Okay, so our start actions are set. They should operate just fine. And then the tick actions. The only other thing is probably very similar here. Tick actions is item.tick actions is initial setup, which is the exact same thing. So rename this, whoops, start actions. We don't need to check for initial setup complete anymore. We're going to remove entirely tick actions. We're going to move entirely this. We're going to move... Oh, I need to add a similar thing where the item attributes know which item it belongs to. We'll do that next. Don't let me forget, everybody. We'll also have to do the set dirty. We've got to do everything on this one still. All right, so we have our start actions. We're going to call that from the list. Start actions. And... make it public, and we don't need any of those. That's nice. And then our start actions are going to come from, in this flow, game item object. We're going to remove those. When we do our start actions, we're going to check dictionaries for us, but then we're going to do for each var our game item attribute in attributes game item attribute dot start actions. And a quick question, why is this? Oh, that's why, because I want a nice little property to make it attributes. This should be private, I suppose. And what broke? Something broke where it probably accesses that. Yep. So we just make it oh, I see. Okay, we can revert. Okay, we can revert. So what's happening is that this is the attributes list, but if we want to get the game attributes list, then we have to use this. So I'm going to rename this to be game item attribute list. I know it's a mouthful, but it's much more clear, and then mistakes like the one I just made would be avoided. We could say attribute list, I guess. Attribute list, that's probably okay. All right. All right. So is that all linked together properly? So we don't need tick actions anymore. What's our initial setup here? Relink prefabs. So we're not going to do that here. We're going to do that in start actions. So we don't need this anymore. We don't need the tick actions anymore. And that means the entire item attribute list, or all the item lists now, are void of ticks. No updates required at all. They should be auto-magical at this point now. Okay. Okay, that's good. This is good. All of this is very good. So the other thing that you were supposed to remind me not to forget, you didn't have to because I didn't forget, so don't worry, you didn't drop the ball, is I wanted to add a parent object here, parent item object. So we're going to say, well, let's copy and paste a little bit. So this is a game item attribute. So the attribute is going to know a couple things. It's going to have a parent list. And it's going to be a game item attribute list. And it's also going to have a public game item object called parent item object. And we'll do a similar thing, get in private set. And then we'll do a set parent item object to a value okay. So this way it knows the object that it's attached to, which could be null, because it might not be attached to an object, like in the example of the character race and character class. If those are item attributes, they don't have to be attached to an object, but in this case, if it is, it will know it, and then the parent list will be there. So we need to do a couple things for that, and we're in the wrong thing here. Although this one can know its parent item object. So let's do this first. So we weren't completely wrong, but we'll add these. We'll add these here anyways. Okay. So for the list, that's going to be, if we have a parent object from the list, then it's going to be here. It's going to be on the game item object. And so what we can do on start actions, basically, is we can say attribute list dot set parent item object to be this. That way it always knows who its daddy is. And then on the list, if we have the parent item object, then we know the owner. So the owner could be multiple things, though. Oh shit, we gotta do, I mean, this is a game modules list, and then we need to remove that still, and that was a big headache. So I'm gonna write note to the future self. The note is gonna be like owner could be the owner of the parent item object, but if that's null, then it may be something else. So we're gonna have to do some additional logic there, because it could be null, it could not be null. If it's not null, I just want to grab it and make it auto. Excuse me. Otherwise we'll be fine there. taking off my belt. Yes, I'm wearing pants. I'm unhooking my belt. Apparently, it's that time of the night where it starts getting uncomfortable. Can't do shit about it. This is why I like not being on camera. All right, so the other thing was now we need our game item attribute needs to know its own list and the parent item object it's attached to. So this is going to be in the adds, basically. When we get our new item, we can say new item dot set parent item object equals parent item object. It might be null. It might not be. Doesn't matter. Then new item dot set parent list is going to be this. And then for all the add or transfers or whatever, we will do the same thing. Just call this clone and call this clone transfer to. Do not need to do that. We're going to have to update this later, but that's okay. We can do the rest of what we're doing now. Remove doesn't matter. Remove at doesn't matter. Set owner. We'll have to update that later. All right, and that's that. Okay, good. So that's some good logic. So now that means it's going to know who its owner is. It's going to know who its parent list is. It's going to know everything about itself, so that it's going to be better able to manage things in the future if it needs to. I don't know if it's going to need all that stuff, but why not have it? Why not have it in the future? Who knows? So that's some good shit right there. Let's see, 9:40, 8 a.m. meeting. Probably should call it a night, because the next thing I want to do is really fix this and take this out of the game modules list. And as we saw with the last time I did that, it took a while. So I will probably start tonight, but just do a little bit and then leave it at that. Yeah. How was that? That was fun, right? Everyone enjoyed themselves? We can ask, did everyone enjoy my live stream tonight? ChatGPT says doesn't know what I'm talking about. Okay. I did a 3-hour coding live stream tonight, and I featured your answers during the stream, even if they were wrong. A lot of people watched it. Imagine those people. Do you imagine that perhaps they enjoyed the stream? Come on. I've seen people get you to guess. It is neat that I knew it. It is neat that it said the. However, I hope that the answer I provided were helpful and contributed to the success of your stream. That's very thoughtful of the AI, isn't it? Oh, I realize this is off screen. Okay, that's very thoughtful of the AI. The machine, the monster. Okay. Imagine the audience loved my stream. What do you think they might say to me if they could talk to me in person? Ooh, they might say the following things. Okay, this is for you all to say to me now. That was really strange. You're a great coder and a great teacher. Oh, thanks, guys. I really enjoyed watching your code. Your explanations were clear and concise. You learned a lot. Oh, I mean, I'm flattered. Your stream was so entertaining and informative. I can't wait to see your next one. Well, you should like and subscribe. You have such a great personality, and your streams are always so much fun to watch. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. You are very welcome. I've been wanting to learn more about coding. Oh, that's good. It's a good skill to have. And your stream was exactly what I needed. Thank you for all your hard work, making it so enjoyable. Oh, wow. That is phenomenal feedback that an AI gave me and none of you gave me. Just kidding. I didn't get to say goodbye to Shadowed Soul Studios. So I'll say goodbye now. Goodbye, Shadowed Soul Studios. I hope you have a great night. Happy New Year. There's an issue. What? The new Unity editor. I'll have to check that out. Luckily, there's a guy working on a new hair shader, because the guy who did the old hair shader doesn't respond anymore. Which is always a problem when you get people to do work for you like that. They might not respond. Alright. Now, to be fair, there's a Q&A part here. Yeah, those are the Q&A. I've actually been the questions and answers section has been helpful. I've been enjoying it. People have been using it, and it's been helpful for me. But anyways, I'm going to take off. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day and night, no matter where you are, and I will see you soon.